And welcome back to another special edition of the Vulcan Nation podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Barnhart, Director of Alumni Relations. With me this time, on this installment, we have a very special guest. He is Alan Pines, class of 2011. He is the host and creator, and you'll know him better as Alan Austin. He's the host and creator of The Alan Austin Show. Alan, it's a pleasure to have you here on the Vulcan Nation today.
Thank you for having me, Ryan. It's awesome to be on.
Absolutely, man. Well, we like to just jump right into things and allow our guests the chance to introduce themselves to our audience, and maybe they weren't there at Cal at the same time, so that way they get to know you a little bit, kind of who you were at Cal U and where you are today. So why don't you take it away?
Sure. Well, I started at Cal U way back in the fall of 2007. And graduated spring 2011. So the normal 4-year ride, not normal, but I did the 4-year ride. And while I was there, I participated in the theater department. I was a theater major. So I acted day in and day out during my time as a Vulcan. And my show now is about sports, but I didn't participate in any sports at college or at the university. And yeah, I again, like I did a lot of acting. I didn't really have time for anything else because when you act there as a major, you're also required to work behind the scenes on shows you're not in, and you're just constantly being involved. So I would say my legacy there is being a Hall of Famer in the Department of Theater and Dance.
I'll second that. I know it's a hard gig, and we've had several theater majors on the show before, and one of the current faculty members, JP Stossel, on, and yeah, it's definitely as intense as a student athlete would be. So no shame there, right? You know.
Oh, I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit now about your impact with the Alan Austin Show. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and kind of where it came from? How sports has influenced you, even maybe during your time at Cal U too.
Sure. Well, after Cal U, I came home with a theater degree, and honestly, I didn't bust my butt as hard as I should have. So after about a year and a half of just, having a 9-to-5, not doing anything acting related other than an occasional audition here and there, I uprooted and moved to Los Angeles in 2013. Tried the actor life, had some successes. I kind of got wrapped up in a full-time job while I was out there. That was kind of in show business, but not anything performance-wise.
Show business adjacent, right?
Sure. And after a little bit over a year of that, I was like, I got to get back to trying to act. Like, I was making good money. I was having a great time, but it was very time consuming. There was no personal life. There was no outside life other than that job. So I was like, got to get back to it. So, tried my best, and then some family stuff was happening, and I'm like, I was dirt broke. I was struggling. The family stuff was happening. So I'm like, got to head back east. So I moved back home and kind of picked up the acting stuff again, but not really, because no excuses. I was just too comfortable once I got back home, and got another 9-to-5, got swept up in that, left that job and doing 9-to-5s. And then eventually I was like, I'm 30 now. I've got to figure out my life. If I'm going to perform, I got to go full-fledged. If I'm not, I got to find something that's going to pay the bills in a career aspect. So I sat down with myself, not necessarily in the mirror, like Michael Jackson behind you would do, but
right. But still the man in the mirror though, right?
Still the man in the mirror. Had to change my ways, and I said, what can be a career that I want to do? And I was a basic MBA, I don't think I'd be good at. You know what I mean? Like, if I don't have a love for something, I'm not going to do it. And I found sports broadcasting. It was something I could go to grad school for, which means I'd get a master's in it. And in the New York market where I live, there's plenty of jobs. Now, right now, we're in the COVID situation and everything's thrown out of whack. But at the time, it was an industry with, there's so many new outlets with the internet and YouTube and everything. There are plenty of jobs to go around if you work hard enough. And although I never had the success I strived for, and I said I kind of got complacent at times, when I want something and I go for it, I will stop at nothing to get it. So during COVID and everything, I've always had this nugget of an idea, which was my own sports talk show a la Jimmy Fallon, Conan O'Brien, where instead of just basic Q&A interviews, we kind of play a game with the guests to try to get to know them through that game, as opposed to, your standard, because a lot of athletes probably don't have the personality to be talk show guests. They're not entertainers.
Sure. No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So if you want to have athletes on or sports figures, it's best to kind of get them to come out of their shell. So I thought the best way to do this would be the kind of the variety show model, where we come on and play games with the guests and get to know them through that. They ease up a little bit, they have a little fun, and it's not the standard interview they're used to and bored of giving. So I figured, why not during COVID, even with no budget and no high profile guests yet lined up, why not get the format started and see if if it's something I love to do.
No time like the present, right?
Right. So, I have started the Alan Austin Show. We're 3 episodes deep. Our first episode was a college basketball player. The second was a wrestling commentator and someone who has a Dallas Cowboys podcast. And the third guest was a sports photographer. So I'm trying to get, different aspects of the sports world represented, all, male, female, they, whoever wants to come on, any race is welcome, any ethnicity, anybody from the sports world. It does not have to be just something I know and love. If a marble racer wants to come on, we'd love to have them. If a cricket player wants to come on, I'd love to have them on. So this is kind of like
oil wrestlers, whatever. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Our next guest will be an independent wrestler, but nice. So it's kind of like the wide world of sports presented by me. So I want to learn about everything. I want the fans out there to learn, and just kind of get an eclectic group going, and see if we can turn it into something bigger than just me sitting here in my dining room of my apartment, interviewing people. So that's the game plan. That's the show, and it's just like a talk show. You have a monologue, you have a mid-comedy segment, and then the guest portion.
So definitely putting together a lot of those acting skills and techniques and theories that you picked up in your program.
Right. So I'm using my love of performing and mixing that with my current career path in sports broadcasting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I listened to the first 3 episodes, so I really enjoyed it, and I definitely hope our listeners will too. And obviously, we'll link to that here throughout. So let's talk a little bit more about like some of those skills, right, that you've carried kind of on in a daily kind of capacity, whether it's with the Alan Austin Show or just in your daily life. But our marketing, right now for future students is build you, and this idea that like you got this blank slate when you come to Cal U, you can kind of craft and build yourself and the potential for your success in the future. So what skill or piece of advice maybe that kind of built you while you're at Cal U that you use on the daily?
Sure. I definitely, through the theater department specifically, learned how to constantly keep going. Just because your work is done for the day doesn't mean it's done overall. So you just got to push. We'd put on shows that would rehearse for a couple months, and then as soon as that was over, it was on to the next thing. So to never just stop, to keep going. If it's one project wrapping up, what's the next project that needs to be wrapped up next? What's the next thing that needs to be done? And how can I think a couple steps ahead? I learned how to do that all at Cal U through all the stuff I needed to do for my major, and because I love doing it, being an actor.
No, that's awesome. It's cool to see that come together and be able to kind of glean that from your time and how it's impacted.
Also balancing, classes with major. So classes that aren't necessarily theater related, kind of managing and organizing my life so that everything can be not only done, but done right and successful without sacrificing quality anywhere.
Absolutely. So sticking in that vein, do you have any, was there a favorite professor or specific classes that you really particularly enjoyed during your time at Cal U?
Well, first, the credit to the theater professors. I'll shout out a couple in particular. Malcolm Callery, who I know is retired, unfortunately. Dr. Michelle Pagan, who's the current chair over at the theater department. Some of the dance teachers, Donna and Diane, who I don't know, honestly, I don't know who's still there and who's not. But a couple professors outside of theater who I always left an impact on me. One is Kelton Edmonds, and the other is Mark Auney.
Yeah, sure.
So those two gentlemen really, the fact that I remember who they are is because I've always appreciated what they taught me. Because I can't tell you every professor I had at Cal U. It's been about 10 years.
Yeah,
So
it's been a while, right?
yeah, those two, I think about stuff I learned in their classes often, not necessarily like what I learned, like this particular thing, just how I felt while I was there, that I wanted to keep learning, that I wanted to understand what they were saying. They were enthralling, and they pulled you in because they wanted to be there. You know, they never looked like they would spend a day mailing it in. They wanted to be there. They were spending their time, and they were putting effort into their lectures and their lessons, and I appreciated that, and that's why they resonated with me so well.
Absolutely. And I know, I never had Dr. Ani, but I did have Dr. Edmonds, and he's a name that comes up quite often on this show. Especially from folks who didn't, maybe weren't a history major or political science, and didn't have him a lot.
That's me. That's
you know what I
me.
mean? Yeah, like I'm same way. So, and a lot of our guests are. So it's cool to see that kind of come through. Let's move outside the classroom for a little bit here, right? And the running gag, obviously, it is the PG-13 podcast, so please keep that in mind.
I'm pretty family friendly, so you wouldn't have to worry about
that. So, do you have? And this is a tough question, right? Because I'm sure there are many, many, many memories that you have of Cal U that you recall fondly. But is there one or two maybe that you recall a memory of Cal U that you have that really sticks out in your mind as opposed to other ones?
There's a couple. I'm trying to. So I'll keep it within theater. I'll keep it within Cal U.
Sure.
And I would say just any show that I got to be in with the friends I made at Cal U, where we weren't necessarily the leads. So like A Christmas Carol, which was a big community production where obviously like they brought in townspeople and community actors to play some of the lead roles that not all the college students played every big role. I, who cannot sing, had to be used as a body and a dancer. So it was just a time to relax, have fun on stage, and just have a blast with everyone else who was part of the production. I hold those Cal U Christmas Carol, like I wish I could do it tomorrow with a similar group of people who I was with the first time. Like, and it sounds unprofessional, but we would like make each other break on stage. No one would ever notice because we were just background people. And it's very, very taboo to say this, but just those memories of making each other laugh and, getting to have fun and perform without anything really getting in the way. Like there was no like huge character study we needed to worry about. There was no like insane preparation. It was just there, have fun, perform, be with all your friends, and have a great time. So those Christmas Carol performances, and some other actors may be like, no, they were the bane of my existence. But for me, I loved them to death. I had a blast each and every year, just not goofing around in an inappropriate way. Just like we were there, we had a blast. And those Christmas Carol performances, those were my favorite. And then obviously anything where I did get to sink my teeth into a juicy role, those are some of the most memorable experiences in a different way. But those were more, I don't want to say self-satisfying, but they resonated with me more than like a group, so to speak.
No, that makes total sense. And we've talked to some other theater majors, and that's been reflective of that scene. That Christmas Carol show seems like the highlight kind of most of the theater folks that we've talked to and alumni. So that's cool to hear.
I'm sure for you too. Several different reasons too.
Yeah, I'm sure of some we will go unnamed. All right, so we have a bonus question today. As some of you who actually have updated your information and get the emails from the alumni office, we're creating the ultimate Cal U playlist of songs that remind you the most about your time at Cal U. So Alan, your contribution to the ultimate Cal U playlist. What song reminds you most of your time at Cal U?
That's an interesting one.
It's hard to pick just one, right?
Yeah, it is hard to pick just one. I'm trying to think like, and here's what it is. It has nothing to do with like a theater song. This is where it comes from. And it's not, there are going to be very few people who even know this song. But so I lived kind of by Loggerheads my last year.
Out in Cole Center.
I was in Cole Center, thank you. And I would walk or ride my bike to campus every day. And I had some app. This is pre-Spotify. I didn't have iTunes on my phone at the time. It was
Zune, huh?
It was something. I don't remember what it was, but I had like 5 songs on it. I've never been technologically inclined. So there were like 5 songs on it. And my favorite rapper of all time is Lloyd Banks. And okay, so
fame for those of you who are playing at home.
Yeah, Lloyd Banks. So this song is one I would play every day walking to class to and from. So again, it has nothing to do with like a party or a moment.
Yeah, no, you're cool.
It's just one that when I think of Cali now, this is the first song, and it's Lloyd Banks featuring Kanye West, Swizz Beatz, and Fabulous. It's Started Up. So that's my contribution. 2010, it's 10 years old at this point. So when I listened to it, it was probably relatively new to about a year old at the time. So
all right,
not a PG-13 lyric song, but yes, it is. That is my contribution, and I'm sure, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm the first person to contribute a Lloyd Banks track.
Indeed you are. I had to write that.
I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that.
Yeah, we're going to add it to the list tomorrow. So we're still crafting that. That's going to be coming out here. We're going to be dropping that list to everybody soon, but it's up over like 100 tracks, but that is out of those 100, that's the first Lloyd Banks track. So
I'll take it.
We'll go there. So we're gonna play game 2 today. I'm gonna throw out a topic, and I want your hot take on it.
Okay.
It'll all be sports related, so we want to kind of get you back in the feel of the Alan Austin show. And before we do this, how can folks maybe, if they're interested, how can they find out more about the show and tune in?
Well, if I didn't turn them off from my vague Lloyd Banks reference, you can find me at Twitter. It's at Alan, ALLEN _Austin _. Instagram is Alan Austin Sports. And then the YouTube show is, you just search The Alan Austin Show. And if you're watching now, you will recognize my face on the channel. And the links to The Alan Austin Show are in my bio for Instagram. So check it out. I hope you enjoy it.
Absolutely, and we'll link to all that in our newsletter and all our other spots too that we're going to share this. So, all right, we'll keep this relatively simple. Pittsburgh Pirates.
Great new uniforms, I must say that.
New York Mets.
Oh, the lovable losers. I have such a big place in my heart for the Mets, but they can't get out of their own way year in and year out. And being in the market where they exist, it's just so tough to watch every year.
I have a story about the 7 train ride from hell. The one and only time I've been to Citi Field, but that's for we can save that for another episode sometime.
I'm just going to go back to the Pirates real quick. So while I was at CalU, some of my best memories are getting really cheap tickets to go to Pirate games through CalU, even not through CalU, but I think most of them were through CalU.
That $5 student ticket at the student union, man, you can't beat it.
And I would go and get great seats and watch Nate McLeod, who was one of my favorite players at the time, even though I'm not a Pirates fan per se, but those are some of the great moments going to see Pirate games. And one quick story that'll take 5 seconds. We were at a Pirates-Cardinals game. Albert Pujols was playing. Pirate fans hate Albert Pujols. And this is when Pujols was on top of his game. And this fan, I think he probably was drunk, got up and yelled, "Boo, Pujols, no Triple Crown for you. Boo." Next pitch, Pujols cracked like a 3-run homer. And I laughed so hard. So, yeah, I loved going to Pirate games as a student at CalU.
They definitely are an experience, and PNC is a great place to experience that. So hopefully we'll be back sooner or later. The Detroit Tigers.
My favorite sports franchise in the world. Another team who's struggling, but there's a lot of nice prospects on the way. I'm hoping for the best, and I will never, ever, break away from that fandom. They are my obsession. They are my favorite.
And last but not least, your hot take on restarting sports during the pandemic.
Can't do it, man. It's tough. You got to play it safe. I know that's not the popular opinion, but I honestly think until everyone can play comfortably without having to worry that they're going to get sick and make others or themselves ill, you kind of got to take a step back and reevaluate. And I know there's a lot of money on the line. I know the NFL is going to push through and go forward anyway. And if they can do it in a safe way, fine. And I have no problem with it. But when you look at what baseball's done so far, where the players are not properly following protocol, I hate to say it, it's just the way it is. I kind of have an uneasy feeling when watching sports, only because I feel like they're at risk. So until I or anyone can play or watch sports without feeling any kind of risk, I feel like maybe it shouldn't be back quite yet.
Fair and valid points. And I lied. I'm going to do one more. AEW or NXT?
Right now, I'm going AEW. I love both. I love pro wrestling. Those are the two best shows, by the way. So
I mean, that's why I chose them. So,
yeah,
I mean, obviously.
the Wednesday night wars are the best pro wrestling out there right now. And kudos to Impact Wrestling for doing everything they can to try and like break through that.
They're a solid third spot there.
Yeah, they're doing everything they can to like. I don't want to say they like want to break the reputation they have, but they're definitely trying to redefine themselves, and I give them a lot of credit. But right now, I'm just enjoying AEW a little bit more. I think NXT was better when it was kind of like the AAA to WWE, only in terms of storylines. Match quality is still there, everything's still there, but there was a certain nostalgic joy I got from when people would like get called up to WWE and their storyline cycle would like end at NXT. And I think that the Johnny Garganos, the Tommaso Ciampas would have benefited greatly from being called up. And I think kind of like having them go through more cycles right now, it's just kind of like, it's as an audience member, as a fan, it's kind of hard to try to connect with them still. I would love to see them jump up and do something on Raw or SmackDown. But right now, it's still a little newer and they're just as good in ring, in my opinion. I'm going with AEW right now over NXT. Love them both.
I concur. I'm very much in the AEW camp, and much of my analysis as far as NXT goes along with what you're saying. That whole cycle of call up and hype behind it, and I think like not having like a post WrestleMania Raw, I think that hurt a lot as well. Not being live, so. Weird times, man, right? Weird times.
And
can't believe it. So, well, Alan, I want to thank you again, man, for joining us today and hopping on the Vulcan Nation podcast. Before we go, we always like to, it's my favorite part. I don't have to do any of the work. I can turn it over to you. You can shout out your friends from Cal and give us one more time where folks can find the Alan Austin Show and connect with you on social.
Of course, Twitter @Alan_Austin_, Instagram Alan Austin Sports. The YouTube show is called The Alan Austin Show. And let me shout out first your wife, Jess, one of my best friends at college, all the dancers that goes along, Jess and Aaron, who I've probably stayed in touch with the most out of my dancer friends at Cal U. All my theater friends, Christina Bordini. I got to shout out Christina Bordini. She's my sister. All Alejandro Matos, some of the best friends I ever made while at Cal U, Samantha Rager, all like theater people. And then, and you, I'll shout you out, sir. You're here doing this, so there's got to be love for that.
I appreciate that, man. One more time, where can folks find the Alan Austin Show and connect with you on social?
On YouTube, the Alan Austin Show, Twitter, Alan_Austin_, Instagram, Alan Austin Sports.
Awesome. Well, man, I'm looking forward to whenever you have like 10 million followers and, then maybe I'll be able to get you on your show. You can have
of course.
Talk sports. It'd be great. So, anyways, Alan, thanks again, man. I appreciate you being here today. So for Alan Austin, I'm Ryan Barnhart. This is the Vulcan Nation. We'll see you next time.